Hey everybody, Jewel back again with another astrology video. And I'm adding to my series about Plutonic relationships today, giving a little bit more detail about what that is, because I've gotten a lot of questions and a lot of comments on these videos. And a lot of the comments and the emails and the messages I'm getting are from men who think that I am being too hard on Plutonic relationships. The overwhelming opinion seems to be that I'm confusing passion with abuse. Well, I find it really interesting that I'm also receiving a lot of messages and emails and comments from women who have been really badly injured and hurt in these types of relationships. So it's really interesting to me that I haven't received any comments from women regarding me being wrong or difficult or feminist about this. So it's interesting to me that it's really striking a chord in people, is what I'm seeing. And so I think I should clarify what constitutes a Plutonic relationship. And in my past videos, I am specifically talking about difficult or hard Pluto contacts that result in a oppressive or unsatisfying or scary relationship between two people. So I am not talking about, sextiles or trines or quintiles. I'm mainly, talking about oppositions or squares, sesquisquares, sesquiquadrates, conjunctions sometimes. When we're talking about difficult Pluto contacts, that's usually how they'll show up. But we can see, two sextiles showing up as a conjunction in a composite chart. So, depending on what the synastry is, depending on what the composite charts are, that will really show you what the contacts really are, or what the combining energies are in a composite chart are. So, what can we do when we find ourselves in a Plutonic relationship? What are some of the skills that we can develop? Well, you have to really understand the nature of these relationships, the reason for it. And really, we're talking about two people that are experiencing a lot of unconscious uncovering of each other and of themselves. And in that process, we learn some very hard things about ourselves. And that is really the meaning, the reason behind these relationships, is to uncover some very dark or hidden or buried or undealt with parts of ourselves, so we can have the chance to do something about it, so we can have the chance to heal that, so we can have a chance to improve that. So in Plutonic relationships, we tend to see the worst of each other because that is the nature of it. That is the reason for it. We don't achieve a really good look at ourselves if we aren't pulling up and vomiting up the icky stuff from within. That is what Pluto really is asking for in these relationships. This is why we see the worst parts of each other, when in a Plutonic relationship, other people are, not necessarily seeing what's going on. They're seeing the best parts of us or of our partner. So these relationships are really, meant to strengthen the person that, or the people that is playing the victim role. Because in these types of relationships, typically we see one person with the power and the other person playing the victim role, but we can see an even relating of the two. It really depends on the two personalities. We can see the two people evenly victimizing or manipulating or controlling each other. So, yes, it is a deep passion because Pluto rules the 8th house. This is a very 8th house relationship that we're talking about. Our passion is found there. Our crisis is found there. Our sexuality is found there. Things that we bury are found there. Difficult things are found there. Our daily difficulties are in this house. So Pluto really represents a relationship that has a lot of those themes surrounding it. So when we find ourselves in one of these types of relationships, you have to ask yourself, yes, there's passion. Yes, there is a need to be with each other. Is this how you want to spend your time, though? We only have so much time on this planet to go after what we are really after. How much time do you want to spend in a Plutonic relationship or in a difficult relationship? Because typically we have the chance to stay in these types of relationships forever. Plutonic relationships are very, very difficult to break once we get involved in them. It is very much like a moth to the flame. It is so hard to resist the pull of the energies when we have this going on. It's very much like a black hole that we just cannot resist. Once we are in it, it is a very different story. It is something that we have often a need, a desire to get out of, to be free of, because it becomes very constrictive, very demanding, and we can find that it really saps our energies. So, becoming strong in oneself for what I term the Persephone person. So if you haven't seen my previous videos on Plutonic relationships, you need to go back and watch those, or you're not really going to understand what I'm talking about. There's a lot more information in those. And what I term the Persephone person is the person that's playing the victim role. And the Pluto person is the one that's playing the role of the controller or the benefactor. So the Persephone person really needs to take control of her own life, because she's really giving up control, giving up responsibility to the Pluto person. And the Pluto person is then, using that to their advantage. So there is a guilt, an anger at oneself in the Persephone person because of their lack of taking responsibility for their own life. They are giving up a great deal of power to the Pluto person, sometimes all their power. And in that, there is a self-hatred that comes with that, a self-contempt, because they are being weak. and they are standing in their own way of happiness out of the guise of having safety, when really this is not a safe relationship. So becoming strong in themselves is really important, and it's really important to understand that the Pluto person, for all their threatening and all their words and all their fist shaking, they are very attached to the Persephone person. They are not going anywhere. There is not much that you can do to get the Pluto person to leave, but they will use that, the threat of abandonment, in order to, hang on to the Persephone person. So when the Persephone person realizes that they can make it on their own, the Pluto person isn't going to make good on their threats, and that their own sense of responsibility has been lacking, when they can put those pieces together, they can really get on top of this kind of relationship. It can really go from something that is a sick relating to something that can become healthy. Now, you have to have both people working on their own ends of things, because you cannot fix a composite chart. A composite chart is what it is. You can't send a composite chart to therapy. So, but you can send the two individuals. So if the two individuals in a Plutonic relationship are willing to do their work, and typically the Pluto person is not going to be willing to see their part in things. That is not always the case. Sometimes we can have like a significant Pluto transit, and it can really open their eyes, and we can see lasting cathartic change within them. But most of the time, the Pluto person is always going to blame the Persephone person and is going to insist that they did what they did because they loved them so much. So it's important that if this is going to become a healthy relationship, both partners need to do their separate work. They really need to work on their own issues separately. So this is also a big question I've been receiving, is can't you stay in a Plutonic relationship and fix it? Well, typically no, because it is a very addictive relationship. Pluto, the 8th house, Scorpio, this is where we find our addictions. The 12th house as well, but we're talking about Pluto right now, not Neptune. So it is an addictive relationship that both these people are in. This is one of the reasons why it's so difficult to leave. So it's imperative that they detox from each other on their own, and that they do their work on their own, because if they are remaining in the relationship and attempting to fix it while they are still relating in this Plutonic way, it's very much like being an alcoholic and trying to quit drinking while you're drinking. How are you going to do that? We still have the same problems, the same dynamic. You have to cut the dynamic, work on your own issues, and then you have that chance to come back together in a more healthy way. Now, there's, any style of ways that people can go about, healing or staying together or trying to stay together. But typically this is the way that I see it actually working. And it's rare when it does, because really these relationships are not meant to be the one relationship that we have forever and ever. And it is, something that we want to keep going. The nature of Plutonic relationships is that they are upsetting, is that they bring out issues that we don't want to deal with. So typically we don't want to keep, at least the person who's playing the victim role doesn't want to keep this relationship going forever and ever. So it is about passion, yes, but it is about misplaced passion, Plutonic relationships. It is about selfish passion. Love is a selfless thing. Love is not about taking from the other. It is about giving. In Plutonic relationships, we're very concerned with our end, with what we get, with what we're being served. When really love is about giving without expectation of receiving. So there's a lot of room in Plutonic relationships for resentment to bleed in. And they can become very, very poisoned by resentment, anger, sadness, expectation over time. So they are binding, they are attractive relationships, they are deep, and they are unforgettable. But they are dangerous. They can be damaging, and it is very much like playing with fire when we get involved in these relationships. So I hope this gave a little bit more clarity and a little bit of a clue about what it is I'm talking about. You can find me on the internet at truthinAspectAstrology.com and on Facebook at Truth in Aspect Astrology. I do lots of writing over on Facebook and articles and all kinds of super cool stuff, so check me out over there. I do private consultation all the time, email for appointment. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so. And I'll be back super soon with another super cool video. Bye-bye.